Hido, and welcome to the Pantheon, where we have a look at the top 5 cards for a given commander, and, well, I tell you all about them. Without further ado, let's have a look at our brand new Elder Dragon. It's Tanazir Quandrix, who weighs in at 5 mana, which is pretty decent, you know. It's a good casting cost, especially for an Elder Dragon, but the main reason we're playing him, let's have a look at his abilities. So, he has Flying and Trample, straight off the bat. And when he enters the battlefield, double the number of 1/1 counters on target creature you control. Then, whenever it attacks, you may have the base power and toughness of other creatures you control become equal to Tanazir Quandrix's power and toughness until end of turn. Now, that can backfire if someone manages to give it minus whatever, but that's a really cool ability. But 4/4 for an overrun, it's pretty good, but it's not the best. We could do a lot better. So, we're going to have a look at a couple of cards that really work well with this deck. You know, really, we're going to focus on the 1/1 counters and also a couple of tokens. So coming in at number 5, we've got Rishkar Pima Renegade. 3 mana for a 2/2. When it enters battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Each creature you control with a counter on it has tap for a green. So Rishkar could target our commander or just one of our little tokens, and then we can generate some nice mana. Good bit of ramp, and it's just an overall great little card. Similar to this, Jing Yang Gu Wildcrafter is a 3 mana planeswalker that says each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it has tap, add 1 mana of any colour, and you can -1, put a 1/1 counter onto target creature. Very, very similar, gives you a nice bit of ramp, can accelerate you into the late game. Incubation Druid is a 2 mana 0/2. Tap, add 1 mana of any add 1 mana of any type that a land you control would produce. If Incubation Druid has a 1/1 counter on it, add 3 of that mana type instead. And then you can pay 5 mana, adapt 3, which means you just put 3 1/1 counters on it. Although you can't do this if it has any other counters on it. Finally, Jaya Sage is a 2 mana 1/2 that has Evolve. Evolve is whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control. If that creature has greater power or toughness than this creature, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. Then it has tap, add a green to your mana pool for each 1/1 counter on it. Excellent little ramp package that all cares about counters. Then we've got a couple of other cards that really work very well with counters. Herald of the Secret Streams is a 4 mana 2/3. Creatures you control get +1/+1 counter on them, can't be blocked. Really good, can be a nice little game-ending play, especially if we're swinging in with a commander and dealing a ton of damage. Fertilid is a 3 mana 0/0. When it enters the battlefield, it comes in with 2 1/1 counters on it. Pay 2, remove a 1/1 counter from it. Target player searches their library for a basic land card, puts it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffles their library. If we keep putting counters on this, we can keep getting lands over and over again. Finally, Bread for the Hunt is a 3 mana enchantment. Whenever a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. Absolutely excellent. We're going to have lots of little dudes. We're going to draw a bunch of cards. Which brings us on to number 4. Master Biomancer. Now, this is a fantastic card, you know, all around. You know, it gives all of your creatures +1/+1 counters. But the main reason we want this card is because we want our commander to have +1/+1 counters. Because when it enters the battlefield, it doubles the number of counters on any target creature, including itself. And then if it's doubled its own power, you know, Master Biomancer gives it +2/+2. Quandrix doubles himself to +4/+4. He's now an 8/8, and when he swings in, he's going to be giving every one of our creatures +8/+8, essentially. Master Biomancer, 4 mana 2/4. Each other creature you control enters the battlefield with a number of additional 1/1 counters on it equal to Master Biomancer's power, and as a mutant in addition to its other types. So the +2/+2 is baseline. If we can keep piling counters onto Master Biomancer, everything gets even bigger. It's really, really cool card. Couple of other cards that put counters on our commander. Bioshift, either a green or a blue for an instant. Move any number of 1/1 counters from target creature onto another target creature with the same controller. The way this works is when it comes in, our commander, Mr. Quandrix himself, we can respond to the trigger to double the counters. We can move some counters onto him and then he can double the amount on him. Plaxcaster Frogling is a graft creature, 3 mana for a 0/0. Graft is when it enters the battlefield, it comes in with 3 1/1 counters on it. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may move a 1/1 counter on to that creature from this creature. So when Quandrix enters, we can move a counter along. And then finally, as pay 2, target creature 1/1 counter on it, gain Shroud until end of turn. Excellent bit of protection for our commander. Opal Palace is a great little land. Tap to add a colorless, or pay 1 and tap it. Add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. If you spend this mana to cast your commander, it enters the initial 1/1 counter for equal to the number of times it's been cast from your command zone this game. So as he dies a lot, he gets even bigger and bigger and bigger. Which brings me on to number 3. Now, we want a big army of tokens. We want them to spread out along the floor. An Iridescent Hornbeetle, which is a brand new card, is a 5 mana 3/4 that says, at the beginning of your end step, create a 1/1 green insect creature token for each 1/1 counter you've put on creatures under your control this turn. So if we can just pile counters on it, we're going to get a massive amount of little 1/1s. It's going to be great. We're going to go wide, and then we're going to kill everyone. To go along with this, we've got a couple of other cards that work very, very well with counters and also tokens. Mycoloth is a 5 mana fungus, who's a 4/4. It would devour 2. As it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. This creature enters the battlefield with twice that number of 1/1 counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 green sapling for each 1/1 counter on Mycoloth. So even if Quandrix can't double the power of himself, you could double the counter on Mycoloth, and dear God, you're going to be spewing out saplings for days. Hooded Hydra is a double green and X/0/0. Enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it. When it dies, create a 1/1 green snake creature token for each 1/1 counter on it. And then it has, it has Morph for 5 mana, which Morph means you can cast it as a 3 mana 2/2 face down, and then for a later turn, you can pay the Morph cost to unmorph it. So when it's turned face up, put 5 1/1 counters on it. So pretty good card. Then we've got Avenger of Zendikar, who is a 7 mana 5/5. When it enters the battlefield, create a 0/1 green plant creature token for each land you control. Then landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a 1/1 counter on each plant creature you control. Absolutely great. Game winning. He's a classic, isn't he? He's a good lad. Then we've got a couple of other ones. Chasm Skulker, 3 mana for a squid horror, 1/1. Whenever you draw a card, put a 1/1 counter on it. But then when it dies, create X 1/1 blue squid creature tokens with Island Walk, where X is the number of 1/1 counters on it. Excellent target for our commander to double those counters as well. Then Seki, Season's Guide. I love this card. I do have a foil of it, but I ran over it with a office chair. Things happen, don't they? 8 mana 0/0 enters the battlefield with 8 1/1 counters. If damage would be dealt to Seki, prevent that damage. Remove that many 1/1 counters from it, and put that many 1/1 color spirit creature tokens into play. Sacrifice 8 spirits. Return Seki from your graveyard to play. Really, really cool. Works excellently, and you can keep recurring him over and over again. Finally, Nissa, Voice of Zendikar, 3 mana for a Planeswalker. +1, put a 0/1 green plant token onto the battlefield. -2, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. -7, gain X life and draw X cards, where X is the number of lands you control. Really good if you get there, but the likelihood is pretty goddamn slim. Which brings me on to number 2. Cultivator of Blades, who all these cards are doing their best Quandrix impression. But Cultivator of Blades is the best one, I feel, because it creates a little army of its own, or it can be an overrun. 5 mana for a 1/1. Not the best, but it has Fabricate 2. Fabricate 2 means you can either put 2 1/1 counters on it, or you can put 2 1/1 servos onto the field. Whenever Cultivator of Blades attacks, you may have other attacking creatures get +X until end of turn, where X is Cultivator of Blades power. So again, really good. He's like a mini Crater Hoof, but he's more on theme with our commander. A couple of other things that play very similar to this. Biomass Mutation. green, or blue, or green, an X. Instant, creatures you control have base power and toughness XX until end of turn. Just pump a bunch of mana into it. Your army's going to be massive. Renegade Krasis, a 3 mana 3/2 with Evolve. Talked about Evolve earlier. It just means that when a creature enters the battlefield, if it has greater power or toughness than this creature, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. And Renegade Krasis says, whenever it evolves, put a 1/1 counter on each other creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it. So excellent can be an excellent overrun. Pump your entire team if they've got counters on it. Finally, Colonian Hydra, absolutely massive 5 mana Hydra. Trample 0/0. Oh dear. But it enters the battlefield with 4 1/1 counters. Whenever it attacks, double the number of 1/1 counters on each creature you control. Doubling is such a wonderful word. You know, our commander says it. And why not play a couple of things that do it as well? Strength of Tajuru is a green X instant with multi-kicker. Multi-kicker means you can pay an additional 1 for any amount of times as you cast the spell. Choose target creature. Then choose another target creature for each time the spell was kicked. Put X 1/1 counters on each of them. So, ton of mana. Just give everything a bunch of counters. Primeval Protector is an 11 mana 10/10. But it costs 1 less to cast for each creature your opponents control. When it enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on each other creature you control. Potentially a 1 mana 10/10 that buffs our team. Quite cool. Vigor is a 6 mana 6/6 with Trample. If damage would be dealt to another creature you control, prevent that damage. Put a 1/1 counter on that creature for each 1 damage prevented this way. And then when it's put into your graveyard from anywhere, shuffle it into your owner's library. Stops you from getting milled out, which is really quite nice. Vigor is a great little dude. We can just attack with impunity. We can just throw anything anywhere, and if we don't get damage through, it's going to get bigger. Which brings us on to number 1. Berserk. A 1 mana instant, can cast Berserk only before the combat damage step. Target creature gains Trample and gets +X+O until end of turn, where X is its power. At the beginning of the next end step, destroy that creature if it attacked this turn. So, obviously, the main use for this, put it on our commander, double his power, swing in, everything's going to get massive amounts of power. But the fact that it destroys that creature at the end of turn, if you do this in combat, you can target an opponent's creature. You know, target an Elish Norn as it's swinging in for 4. Oh dear, I'm taking 8, but Elish Norn's going to die. This card is so powerful, and for 1 green, it's just phenomenal. To go along with that, we've got a brand new card, Exponential Growth, double green, and then double of X. Sorcery, until end of turn, double target creature's power, X times. So we can turn our commander into a god knows how big. It's just so cool. God Eternal Ronus is a 5 mana 5/5 with Death Touch. When it enters the battlefield, double the power of each other creature you control until end of turn. Those creatures gain Vigilance until end of turn. And then he has some text saying that basically if he dies, put him 3rd from the top into your library. Who cares? The main thing we're bothered about is the fact that he just buffs everything. He's a zombie god. He's just a big beastie. Finally, Simic Ascendancy is an alternate win condition we can play in this deck. 2 mana for an enchantment. Pay 3 mana, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Whenever 1 or more 1/1 counters are put onto a creature you control, put that many growth counters on Simic Ascendancy. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Simic Ascendancy has 20 or more growth counters on it, you win the game. So, not that powerful, but it's going to let us win the game just by simply playing our game plan. Which, you know, is always nice, isn't it? And those are the top 5 cards that I've picked out for this commander. Really quite a cool little commander. He's okay. I don't personally like him that much. But there's some nice synergies in there. He just feels very cookie cutter to me. He's not that exciting. But if you like him, good for you. If you have any suggestions that will make the commander quite interesting, please do tell me, and please subscribe. Bye.